In the shadows of the battlefield, whispers circulated among the soldiers. "Did you happen to hear that rumor?" one asked cautiously. "Apparently a lunatic's been roaming around lately," he added. "A lunatic?" another echoed, raising an eyebrow. "He's supposed to have lifeless eyes like a mercenary, and once the battle ends, he disappears to find the next fight," the first soldier explained. A mercenary with no attachment to life. "That's strange," someone muttered. But what intrigued everyone more was the strange figure who always went around saying, "I survived again." It was said he always appeared in battles related to the Empire and seemed driven by personal vendetta rather than greed. Just hearing about him sent chills down their spines. "So, who's that lunatic?" someone finally asked. From the rumors, it was believed he was a prince of some ruined kingdom, a prince who looked for places to die. The name that circulated was Yuri Bryal, the third prince of Bryal, known for destroying his own kingdom with his own hands 10 years ago. Meanwhile, in a bustling casino, the atmosphere was lively. "Let's go," shouted someone, eyes gleaming with excitement. "Got lucky again?" another chuckled, holding a stack of coins. "Haha, I'm getting pretty lucky today." The third prince of Bryal, Yuri Bryal, aged 18, sat calmly at the table, a faint smile on his face. "That's quite amazing. How do you manage to win every time?" asked a royal mage named Hernando with curiosity. "It's just luck, you know," Yuri replied casually. "Do you think it's any different for me?" Hee hee. The others laughed, but Yuri was already looking around, eager to leave. "Heh, are you guys getting up already? How about another round? We'll wager double this time." "Let's get up already," one of them said, glancing at the time. "If we stay here any longer, we'll be late for the appointment." "Why don't you just go while we're being nice?" another shot back. Do you think we wouldn't know that you swindled us?" someone accused. "Resorting to underhanded tricks? What a load of nonsense," Yuri scoffed. "Just who do you think I am?" From the looks of his confident act, they could tell he wasn't a noble, probably not even royalty. "Well, from the looks of you, you certainly aren't a noble, are you? The king of this country or something?" "Ha! King? If I were royal, I wouldn't be sending him off so easily," Yuri retorted sharply. "That's what I'm saying. You're just raising tensions for no good reason." The banter grew more heated. "Even the princes are the same. I guess it's like father, like son. So useless. Men who only knew how to swing swords and cause trouble," they jeered. Suddenly, Yuri's tone changed, commanding and cold. "Listen up, idiot trio. I am the third prince of Bryal, Yuri Bryal, and you guys will be reborn today courtesy of me." The chaos erupted as Yuri drew his weapon, ready to enforce his will. "Yuwa, can't you see I'm telling the truth? I was late because father had an emergency conference. I already told you through the communication orb. So, please, let me off just this once." Meanwhile, Princess Catherine Ivana Grandzanen, from the Empire, appeared, her expression composed but tense. "Do you think you're the only one having a hard time making time for this?" she asked sharply. "Do you even know how long I had to travel, avoiding others' eyes, just to get here? Very well. Since father is away from his post right now, I should be cautious. Actually, I wasn't even supposed to tell anyone else." Am I someone else to you?" Yuri interrupted, a hint of sarcasm in his voice. "Huh? No, that's not it. If you don't trust me that much, why did you give this to me?" he pressed, holding out an object. "Why don't you give it to someone else you trust?" "Don't contact me until I do." "Wait, Catherine." Yuri called after her as she turned away, leaving him standing amid the chaos. Later, the scene shifted to the devastated kingdom of Bryal. Since that day, relations between Bryal and the Empire had deteriorated beyond repair. The Empire's provocations grew bolder, escalating into open conflict. "It's an invasion. The Empire has invaded Bryal," a soldier shouted. "Everyone, evacuate. Tell all civilians near the castle to get out of there." The war had officially begun. After countless sacrifices and eons of fighting, the conflict dragged on endlessly. The tide of battle was turning unfavorably for Bryal. "Big Brother Joshua." "Your Highness, we must evacuate at once," a soldier urged. "Cuck, are the reinforcements still not here?" another yelled desperately. Bryal's most formidable force, the so-called strongest on the continent, was nowhere to be seen. The absence of a single man had shifted everything. The war's momentum was slipping into the Empire's favor. At first, the prince tried to deny it, calling it a coincidence. But the doubts gnawed at him. He remembered battles fought with his life on the line, and a terrible suspicion took hold: betrayal. The only one he had confided in, Catherine, had betrayed him. Her absence and the Empire's ruthless invasion coincided in a way he refused to accept. His mind raced, clutching the letter he had sent her, only to be met with despair. "Sorry, nothing but despair," he muttered. "There's the Prince of Brial. There's just no end. Get him and Brial is finished." Amid the chaos, he saw the collapse of everything he once held dear. "Damn it, is this where it ends?" he whispered, feeling helpless. Suddenly, voices shouted, "Roland! Please, survive, Your Highness." The prince's mind raced. He saw the figures fleeing, urging him to run. "Run, Your Highness! Quickly run," they cried, but Yuri hesitated. He knew he couldn't hide forever. "I have to somehow break through and make plans for the future," he thought, gazing at the chaos around him. What had become of his father? If he hadn't returned, perhaps he was dead, killed by the Empire. The hopelessness threatened to consume him. "If I die here, the future of Brial will," he thought grimly, knowing that surrender meant the end. His resolve hardened. "I have to survive even like this. I must restore Brial and take revenge on the Empire." But deep down, he questioned his own ideals. His brave words felt childish now. Reality was cruel. Everyone had fallen, the soldiers, the friends, even his family. The bloodshed seemed pointless. He wondered, what was the point of all this suffering? Could there be any reason left? "I'm only wielding this to punish myself," he admitted. "Someday, someone might come who will kill me." The rumor about him, the one who looked for places to die, was true. His reckless rush into dangerous battles, all to find peace in death, was a tragic truth, he wondered bitterly. Even death is too good for someone like me. His gaze was cold, filled with rage and despair. "You're self-centered to the end. Just end it." Yuri Brial, the third prince, the heir of a fallen kingdom, finally declared, "Anyone who knows my past should be dead. All of this happened because of you. Everything, this chaos, it's because of you." Roland? That voice. It has to be him. The realization struck him hard. But how? Memories flooded back. The betrayal, the fall of Brial, the shame of his honor shattered. The man who should have been dead had come back as a revenant, challenging his guilt and sins. "Damn it," Yuri whispered, feeling his heart grow heavier. "I thought I'd feel a bit lighter when I died. But this damned guilt weighs me down even now." He reflected on the honor of Brial's heir, never abandoning honor even in death. Yet, the weight of his sins and the ghosts of the past haunted him endlessly. In his final moments, he accepted the truth: there was no redemption. Only regret. Only the pain of a kingdom lost and a prince who couldn't escape his own shadows. Pain seared through Yuri Brial's body, a relentless fire that refused to fade. His eyelids fluttered, heavy as stone, as a voice pierced the darkness, gentle yet firm, pulling him from the abyss. "Are you all right?" it asked, stirring memories of a life lost. "Father." Yuri rasped, his voice weak, the word trembling with disbelief. "Could it be, you didn't open your eyes for 3 days? His mind reeled, grasping at fragments of a past that shouldn't be. "How is my father, who passed away?" he murmured, confusion clouding his thoughts. "So in the end, you fell into hell too?" "What?" The voice, Fiori Brial, king of Brial, sounded startled, almost amused. "Well, for someone who always spoke about honor, you've lived a rather indulgent life." Yuri's eyes snapped open, his hand instinctively reaching for a sword that wasn't there. "What nonsense are you spouting?" he shouted, his voice sharp with defiance. "You can't fix that habit of your hands, even in hell?" He froze, his breath catching as he scanned the room. The stone walls were familiar, adorned with tapestries of Brial's crest, but there were no flames, no screams, no devils sneering from the shadows. "They're not there," he whispered, his heart pounding. "Please repent. I don't see them. If this is hell, there should be sinners and the fearful flames of purgatory, or the devil should be sneering and torturing me too." A realization dawned, slow and staggering. "Wait, then this place is," he breathed, his voice trembling with hope and dread. Third Prince of Brial, Yuri Brial, age 13, he thought, the truth crashing over him like a wave. This was no dream, no fleeting flashback. The world was too vivid, the air too crisp, the memories too sharp. At first, he thought it might be a dream or a long flashback of memories. But no matter how hard he tried, he could neither wake up nor did the world end. Instead, the old scenarios, which were long buried in the depths of memory, kept repeating, and he couldn't help but acknowledge, back to the spring of the year I turned 13. The fact that I had returned to the past. The fact that I got another chance. You asked me to wake you up. It's time to train your swordsmanship. Yuri's breath hitched. Gasp. Prince, please wake up, he muttered, echoing her words as the reality sank deeper. Aina. Yes, your highness, she replied, puzzled by his solemn tone. Slap my face, he ordered, his voice steady. 3 clean slaps. Pardon? Are you telling me to commit treason? Aina gasped, her eyes wide with shock. It's not treason if I'm telling you to, Yuri insisted, his gaze unwavering. Are you sure? Yeah, he nodded, resolute. I, Yuri Bryal, keep my vows once spoken. Aina hesitated, then delivered 3 sharp slaps, each one stinging like a brand. Yuri winced, rubbing his cheek. I'd forgotten that Aina had incredible strength, he thought, the pain grounding him in this new reality. No one offered ointment, not even Bernard, his sword teacher, who later sparred with him without a word about his reddened cheek. The training grounds were bathed in morning light, the clash of steel ringing through the air. Bernard, Yuri's sword teacher, faced him with a wooden blade, his movements precise but detached. And he's simply sparring with me, not even correcting my form, Yuri thought, frustration simmering. When did Bernard start teaching with just sparring? He's a natural when it comes to intellect, but it's a shame, one said. If the prince were a little more sincere, he could have been a blessing for Bryal. Yuri's heart clenched. Right, it was definitely from that point, he realized. We ended up just sparring every time because I was uncooperative in training. After hearing that I was showing more laziness instead of putting in more effort. He tightened his grip on his sword, determination surging through him. Bernard, he called, his voice firm. From today onwards, teach me properly. I, Yuri Bryal, will train sincerely from now on. Bernard raised an eyebrow, surprised by the sudden resolve in the boy's eyes. I don't know what influenced you all of a sudden, but understood, sir, he said, a spark of approval in his tone. From now on, we will begin the real training. Wait, Bernard. Yuri protested, but it was too late. Bernard's stance shifted, his blade moving with the ferocity of a storm. Ah, right? Yuri thought, dodging a strike. Before Bernard came to Bryal, he was known as the Sword Fiend. The training was grueling, a relentless barrage of strikes and footwork that left Yuri panting. So this is what proper training under the Sword Fiend, Bernard, is like, he thought, his muscles screaming. If I'd had no experience as a mercenary, it would have been way worse. Although it's a little tiring at this rate, my skills should improve quickly, right? Bernard paused, his gaze appraising. Not bad, he said, a rare note of praise in his voice. He deflected all of my attacks. When did the prince improve this much? Before Yuri could respond, a voice cut through the air. Your Highness, a messenger called, hurrying toward them. I think you should stop and come out. His Majesty requests your presence. His Majesty? Why? Yuri asked, wiping sweat from his brow. It seems Count Johannes has brought his son, the messenger replied, his tone formal. Yuri's eyes narrowed, a chill creeping down his spine. The son of Count Johannes is the one who betrayed the kingdom and opened the way for the empire in my past life. He turned to Aina, who stood nearby, her expression curious. Aina, he said, his voice low and intense. That bastard, where's he now? The royal court of Bryal buzzed with whispers, a hive of nobles clad in silks and secrets. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood and intrigue, and the murmurs of the courtiers wove a tapestry of gossip around the young prince. The third prince looks really different now, one noble remarked, his voice low but carrying across the hall. He gained some weight, too. I think my son took the wrong medicine or something, another jested, earning a chuckle from his companion. If there is such a thing, I would like my son to have one, the third replied, his tone wistful. Your son is already smart, the first countered, waving a hand. He still has much to work on, the second admitted, his gaze lingering on Yuri. Yuri ignored the chatter, his focus drawn to a figure across the room, Got Bakvar, the son of Count Johannes, his sly smile a mask for darker intentions. Yuri, Got called, his voice smooth but edged with challenge. Do you have a problem with him? Yuri's jaw tightened, memories of betrayal flashing through his mind. I actually do, he replied coldly. He stabbed me in the back. Got's eyes gleamed with amusement. So what are you going to do about it, almighty Yuri Bryal? He taunted, acting all fancy on the outside. Yet he's busy figuring out how to match others' mood. He didn't change at all. Yuri clenched his fists, forcing his temper down. Have to control my temper, he thought, his resolve stealing. I won't do anything, he said, his voice steady. This is all for you, God. This life can't take the same path as my past life. He paused, memories surfacing. Thinking about it, I fought against God around this time. It was extremely one-sided. Did he choose to betray because he held a grudge from that day? The weight of that possibility pressed on him, urging him to tread carefully. Okay, God, he said, his tone shifting to one of calculated challenge. I heard you are nice with a sword. God hesitated, caught off guard. I know a little about it, he replied cautiously. What are we? Silence. Yuri barked, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. The kingdom doesn't need weak-minded knights. What minded? God sputtered, confusion flickering across his face. Huh? I'm not even an official knight. Yuri stepped closer, his gaze unrelenting. Aren't you going to be a knight who will serve this kingdom soon? God faltered, his bravado waning. I mean, yeah, he mumbled. Then duel? Yuri declared, lunging with a sudden strike, his wooden sword flashing in the sunlight streaming through the hall's high windows. Surprise attack, what a cowardly move. God cried, stumbling back as he barely parried. Eek! Third prince. Please uphold chivalry. Yuri pressed the attack, disarming God with a swift twist of his blade. The sword clattered to the floor, drawing gasps from the onlookers. Dropping your weapon? Yuri sneered. Cook. Got Bakvar? He loomed over Got, his voice low and intense. In your past life, you used your father's glory to sell information to the Empire. Your father is an amazing count and a respected knight. Why do you think those titles exist? Got's eyes widened, fear mingling with confusion. What is it for? He stammered. That's. Yuri softened, his tone almost pleading. I know you just wanted to survive. This time, you will stand tall and Brial. Yes, I don't understand what you mean by, Got faltered, shaking his head. Are the questions too hard for you? Yuri asked, his voice firm. I won't allow any knights to have such an idea. Including myself. How about this? Why is your father a count and who gave him the title? Try to understand the nature of the situation from now on. Think about what I said here. Got lowered his gaze, chastened. Understood, he murmured. The crowd erupted in murmurs, impressed by Yuri's display. Wow, that was inspirational, a bystander remarked, clapping slowly. You really are good at fighting. Yuri turned, his eyes meeting his older brother, Cedric. Did you think I was going to lose? Yuri quipped, a spark of mischief in his voice. Yeah. Cedric called, striding forward. Brother, what am I to you? Yuri grinned, playing along. The worst troublemaker and gambler to ever exist in this kingdom. Cedric laughed, shaking his head. I'm not like that anymore, Yuri protested, his voice lighter now. You should also stop causing trouble. Cedric's laughter faded, replaced by mock concern. Did you fall on your head? He teased, ruffling Yuri's hair. Yuri swatted his hand away, grinning despite himself. Sigh, he muttered, the weight of the moment lifting briefly. Later, on the training grounds, Bernard approached, his expression thoughtful. Prince, he said, his voice carrying a note of respect. I think you're ready to learn the mana method. Already? Are you going to teach me yours? Bernard shook his head. No, mine isn't good enough for your potential, he said, his tone serious. You should learn the Brial method. It's an amazing method. It's very efficient and pure. Yuri's thoughts drifted. I learned the Brial method in my past life, he recalled. I mastered it as a mercenary, but... He paused, considering his options. Are you thinking about learning another method? I'm thinking, he admitted aloud. Bernard recommends someone decent from the guards. Based on one's potential rather than skill. There was one technique I couldn't even try to learn in a past life. He thought, excitement stirring. Potential, huh? Bernard mused, stroking his chin. If we're only going off of one's potential, then Gerald is the one. Yuri blinked, surprised. Him, Gerald, he repeated, testing the name. Strictly based on potential. Before I regressed, I met him towards the end of the war. His skill was all right. It was surprising how he survived so long with it. I'm angry. His potential was indeed special. I could be much stronger if I had trained back then. About what? Bernard asked, catching Yuri's muttered frustration. The training grounds of Brial's castle pulsed with vigor, a symphony of clashing wood and shouted commands echoing across the sunlit courtyard. Knights in sweat-soaked tunics moved through drills with disciplined precision, their enthusiasm a stark contrast to the looming tensions of a kingdom on the edge. Yuri Brial strode through the ranks, his eyes sharp with purpose. Everyone definitely seems enthusiastic, he remarked, scanning the field for his target. Where's Gerald? A grizzled knight, Sir Rosso, turned at the sound of Yuri's voice, his face breaking into a respectful grin. Your Highness. What brings you here? He called, wiping sweat from his brow. I'm here to see if you're doing well, Yuri replied, his tone casual but laced with intent. Rosso laughed heartily, gesturing to the knights around him. Haha, they're still not as good as your Highness, but we're working hard. His gaze followed Yuri's. Ah, do you mean the newcomer? There he is. Yuri's eyes narrowed as they landed on Gerald, a lanky figure moving through drills with a mechanical efficiency that bordered on apathy. Yuri murmured, his thoughts racing. Ah, I understand now what Bernard meant, he reflected. Training should be driven by the intent to improve one's skills, yet he's only doing just enough to get by. At that rate, he'll get rusty. Sir Rosso, bring out a wooden sword, Yuri ordered, his voice firm. I will join the sparring too. Rosso nodded, fetching a practice blade. Oh, I understand, he said, handing it over. Who are you going to spar with? Yuri's gaze locked onto Gerald, a spark of challenge in his eyes. That weaselly bastard over there, he declared, striding forward. The knights parted, their murmurs rising as Yuri approached. Rookie. Good luck. One shouted, clapping Gerald on the shoulder. Another added, stay on your guard. Yuri stopped before Gerald, his wooden sword resting lightly in his hand. Sir Gerald, I heard you were gifted, he said, his voice carrying a weight that silenced the crowd. Would you care to show me what kind of knight you are? Gerald met Yuri's gaze, his expression guarded but compliant. Yes, of course, he replied, gripping his own practice sword. Then Yuri's eyes gleamed with anticipation. I hope you don't disappoint me. The duel began with a clash of wood, Yuri's strike swift and probing. As I thought, Gerald, you don't make any unnecessary movements. He noted, impressed despite himself. The crowd cheered, their voices swelling. Your Highness, I'm rooting for you, one knight bellowed. His Highness is pretty good, though, another remarked, watching the exchange. But Yuri's brow furrowed, a nagging suspicion growing. No, this is strange, he thought, parrying a measured strike. His timing is almost unnaturally consistent. It's as if he's deliberately adjusting to my pace. If it's no fun, is it? This is no different than a play. He tightened his grip, resolve hardening. Now then, shall we do it properly? Yuri surged forward, his blade slicing through the air with newfound intensity. Erg. Gerald grunted, barely blocking the strike. Ha, he gasped, surprise flickering in his eyes. He blocked that, Yuri thought, his pulse quickening. As I thought, his reflexes are beastly. TCH? Yuri muttered, frustration creeping in. I was going to do it in moderation. He pressed the attack, but Gerald countered with a deft parry. Ugh! Yuri exclaimed, stumbling back. Shit, is it not working? Even with the memories of my past life, Gerald is still a mature knight. I thought I could defeat him, but still. I have to at least land one hit. He saw an opening and lunged. This is it. The strike connected, wood cracking against Gerald's arm. That attack really reached him? Yuri thought, a surge of triumph rising. Your Highness, you're amazing. A knight cheered, the crowd erupting in applause. Gerald's eyes narrowed, a flicker of irritation breaking his calm facade. How really annoying, he muttered, adjusting his stance. You're not taking it easy on me, are you? Yuri smirked, catching his breath. This is strange, he replied, his voice steady despite the ache in his muscles. I'm the one on the offensive, yet somehow it feels like I'm the one being cornered. I'm not, he added, meeting Gerald's gaze. Ugh. Yuri grunted as Gerald countered, his blade moving with sudden ferocity. What a pity, a knight shouted, sensing the shift. Gerald! Is he out of his mind? Another cried as Gerald's strikes grew bolder. Ah, your Highness! Rosso yelled, stepping forward. You lunatic! Mana method! He's going against the third prince. Get yourself together. The crowd gasped as a faint glow shimmered around Gerald's blade, a sign of mana infusion. Your Highness, are you all right? Rosso demanded, rushing to his side. I'm fine, Yuri snapped, brushing him off. Is this your first time seeing a spar? But your wound. Yuri ignored the pain, his eyes locked on Gerald. Gerald, hold your sword again, he ordered, his voice alight with exhilaration. It's finally getting fun now. There's no reason to stop. Until the limit, no, he paused, a realization dawning. This prince is different from me, he thought, watching Gerald's hesitant stance. He's pushing himself beyond his limits. The training grounds were a blur of motion and sound. It feels like the blood in my entire body is boiling, he thought, his heart pounding. Not even when sparring against someone stronger than me have I ever felt this way. Across from him, Gerald lowered his sword, his chest heaving. his expression a mix of awe and frustration. This young prince. He's stirring something up inside me, he thought, his own blood racing with an unfamiliar fire. Damn it, he muttered, shaking his head. Yuri grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. I've learned something from you, Gerald, he said, his voice steady despite the ache in his limbs. Phew, it's over. Gerald blinked, caught off guard by the prince's words. And no, thank you, he stammered. You've worked hard. That was an intensity and determination I've never experienced before. Yuri continued, his gaze piercing. Gerald faltered, unsure how to respond. Why yes, he managed, his voice tinged with confusion. How can someone so young? What are you doing? A sharp voice cut through, shattering the moment. Sir Rosso stormed forward, his face flushed with indignation. What are you doing just standing there holding his hand? Oh, the gathered knights murmured, their eyes darting between Yuri and Gerald. The prince is bleeding from the head. Rosso began, his voice rising. And you're just standing there doing nothing? Rosso snapped. Yuri waved a hand, dismissing the concern. Your Highness, Rosso exclaimed, undeterred. That was amazing. A new voice joined the fray, deep and authoritative. Captain, when did you get here? A knight called, turning to see Saint, captain of the Brial Royal Guard, striding onto the grounds. Just a moment ago, Saint replied, his eyes appraising Yuri with a mix of curiosity and approval. A few days later, the castle's training grounds were quiet, the morning sun casting long shadows across the stone walls. Yuri, now cleaned up but still carrying the fire of his duel with Gerald, found Saint waiting for him. Third Prince, Saint said, his tone brisk. You're off duty now, right? Yuri nodded, adjusting his sword belt. Come with me, his expression unreadable. We've got somewhere to be today, his mind still on his training regimen. I still need to train, though. Saint's lips quirked into a rare smile. So you've come to your senses, huh? That's all thanks to me, so you should repay the favor. His postures tightened up quite a bit. Still lacking, but this much will do for now. So, where exactly are we going? He asked, curiosity piqued. Don't worry, I'm bringing one more person. Who? Just follow me quietly, he said, turning to lead the way. Yuri hesitated, a flicker of unease stirring. If it's something dangerous? They reached the castle's arcane wing, where the air hummed with the faint pulse of mana. A figure in flowing robes stood amidst shelves of glowing tomes, Hernando, Royal Mage of Brial. Hey, Hernando, Yuri called, his voice echoing through the chamber. Hernando looked up, startled. What is it, Your Highness? He asked, setting down a scroll. We've got somewhere to go, Yuri said, his tone commanding. Assist me. Hernando's brow furrowed, his hands fidgeting with his robes. I'd like to accompany you, but I've got some pressing business. I'll pay off your gambling debt, Yuri cut in, his words sharp and deliberate. Hernando froze, his eyes widening. Are you serious? I'll clear everything you lost to me last time, Yuri confirmed, his gaze unwavering. Yeah. Have I ever lied to you? Hernando chuckled nervously. Never, no, he admitted. Well, outside the gambling den. No, I mean I've never seen you outside the gambling den. Yuri's smile faltered, a pang of guilt hitting him. Was that really all I amounted to? He thought, the memory of his reckless past stinging. Right, he said, forcing a grin. Anyway, I'll really wipe your debt clean, so no more complaints. Just follow me. Hernando hesitated, then nodded. Well, in that case, he said, a sly glint in his eye. Let's put it in writing. Yuri's expression darkened. Is the name of the third prince of Brial worth this little? He asked, his voice low. Hernando raised his hands in surrender, laughing awkwardly. Yuri turned to Gerald, who had followed quietly behind. Gerald, you vouch for me, he said, pointing. Sorry? Gerald blinked, caught off guard. I mean, you testify that Yuri Brial said it. Yuri insisted, his tone brooking no argument. Gerald let out an awkward chuckle. Well then, shall we be off, Your Highness? He said, falling into step. Yuri led the way, his mind racing with purpose. To Sword Mountain, he declared, his voice resolute. From this moment on, we're going to raid the Founder's dungeon. Gerald and Hernando froze, their faces paling. What? Hernando stammered, while Gerald managed only a weak, understood. The air was damp and heavy beneath the royal palace where a hidden passage wound through the earth like a forgotten vein. Yuri Bryal led the way, his torch casting flickering shadows on the rough stone walls. Gerald and Hernando followed, their footsteps echoing in the narrow tunnel. I had no idea such a passage existed under the royal palace grounds, Gerald remarked, his voice tinged with awe. Your Highness, what's at the end of this cave? Hernando asked, his tone cautious as he adjusted his mage's robes. It leads to the Sword Mountain, Yuri replied, his voice steady though his mind churned with memories of a life lost. Sword Mountain? Gerald echoed, his brow furrowing. Where only legends about the founder remain? That's right, Yuri confirmed, his gaze fixed ahead. In my past life, after the Empire conquered Bryal, they discovered a dungeon hidden within the Sword Mountain, Yuri thought, the bitter taste of failure rising. They made such a huge fuss back then, saying they had unearthed the legacy of Bryal's founder within it. He could still see the headlines, the Empire's triumph, hidden relic found in Sword Mountain, revealed to be a legacy of Bryal's founder. However, this passage was nothing more than a desperate escape route for me. Because of that, I couldn't even get my hands on Bryal's legacy. It was then handed over to the Empire. His grip tightened on the torch. But now, unlike the past when I was only running away, in this life, I'm steadily moving forward. Not toward the past, but into the future. That's right, I'm going to see for myself what legacy our predecessors left behind. The passage opened into a cavern where a massive stone door loomed, etched with ancient runes. So we're at the Sword Mountain from here on out? Gerald asked, eyeing the door warily. But where did you get the key to that door, Your Highness? Hernando pressed, his gaze lingering on the ornate key in Yuri's hand. It looks like an artifact. It was tucked away in the corner of the study just like in my past life, Yuri said, his voice clipped. Back then, I didn't know its purpose and paid the price of it. Wasn't such a good memory. No need to know, he added. The trio emerged into a dense forest, the jagged peaks of Sword Mountain rising in the distance. Ouch, it stings. Hernando yelped, brushing against a thorny leaf. Watch out, Yuri warned, his tone sharp. The leaves here are sharp. Don't get hurt and just follow me. Yes, Sir Gerald, Hernando muttered, shooting a glance at Gerald, who stifled a chuckle. Did His Highness eat something wrong? I think so, Gerald replied, his voice low. Haha. Are the two of you coming? Yuri called, his temper flaring as he forged ahead. His temper is still the same, Hernando thought, hurrying to catch up. Yuri raised a hand, signaling a halt. Halt for a second, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. It's a pack of direwolves. The trio crouched behind a thicket, watching as a group of hulking wolves prowled nearby, their coarse fur glinting in the dappled light. They flock in a group, Yuri murmured. There may be even more of them. How did you know that? Gerald asked, his eyes wide. I read it in a book, Yuri replied, his tone matter-of-fact. A book? The prince? Hernando thought, incredulous, but a sharp glance from Yuri silenced him. My apology, Sir Hernando. Gerald hissed as Hernando's foot snapped a twig. Ah! Hernando froze, but Yuri waved them forward. Haha, let's pass by quietly, he said, leading them stealthily past the pack. Hernando yelped as the alpha wolf lunged, its jaws snapping. Yuri drew his sword, moving with the precision of a seasoned mercenary. You knew that dire wolf's fur was coarse and used the mana method accordingly, he added, nodding to Gerald. Well done, Gerald. Gerald flushed with pride, but Yuri's gaze sharpened. But their leader has its eyes on you. New. The two of you, please don't stray far away from me, he ordered, parrying a claw swipe. You're good at fighting, Hernando panted, as expected from the guard captain of Bryal. The right, he's indeed skilled. Tat. Ugh. Hernando. Yes, the mage replied, stepping forward. I suppose it's time to show off your skills, which my father puts great trust in, Yuri said, his voice laced with expectation. You're really putting the battle mage to good use. Hernando grinned, mana crackling around his hands as he unleashed a burst of flame, scattering the wolves. But he's still got a long way to go, Yuri added, his tone critical but encouraging. Huh? What's going on, Olive? Hernando began, but a new roar cut him off. A massive creature, its hide bristling with spines, crashed through the trees. I had no idea there would be other monsters other than the dire wolf pack, Hernando groaned, readying another spell. Yes, we were quite delayed because of that, Yuri said, wiping blood from his blade. But we're finally here. The summit of the Sword Mountain. The trio stood atop a rocky outcrop, the wind whipping through their hair as they surveyed the barren peak. Your Highness, is this really the place? Gerald asked, his voice skeptical. There's nothing up here at all, let alone the legacy. But there should be something, Hernando murmured, scanning the ground. There's no mistaking this is the place. Yuri's eyes narrowed, his past life memories guiding him to a cluster of jagged stones. Found it, he said, kneeling to brush away dirt, revealing a sealed stone slab. Your Highness! Gerald exclaimed, rushing to his side. We must take this thing out, Yuri said, straining against the slab. Sir Hernando, come help us too. But mages shouldn't get their hands hurt, Hernando protested, but a glare from Yuri sent him scrambling to assist. Together, they heaved the slab aside, revealing a gleaming sword embedded in a pedestal, its blade untouched by time. Oh, Gerald breathed, awe in his voice. It doesn't look like it's been buried at all. It looks just like a new sword. Guilty, huh? Yuri murmured, his fingers hovering over the hilt. Guilty? Then is that thing the legacy of our founder? Hernando asked, his eyes wide. I'm not sure about that, Yuri admitted, his voice low. I guess we'll find out now. The air in the founder's dungeon grew thick with ancient mana, the cavern's walls pulsing faintly as if alive with the memories of Brial's past. Did he protect his body using a mana method? Impressive. Wow, it's deeper than I thought. Did he ignore the prince's safety just to protect himself? Hernando muttered, shooting Gerald a skeptical glance. Ahaha, well, it was a pretty urgent moment, his laugh nervous as he scratched the back of his neck. The Death Knight's helm turned toward them, its presence chilling the air. Prince, over there. If you're trying to change the subject, it won't work on me, Yuri said, his voice sharp, though his eyes never left the spectral figure. No, that's not it. It's a ghost. What? Yuri snapped, his grip tightening on his sword. Gerald, get up. I said get up. Gerald stammered, scrambling to his feet. A Death Knight, huh? Ha! Hernando gasped, stepping back as the knight's aura intensified. Where are we? Gasp! Gerald choked, his eyes wide with fear. Prince, please step back. Yes, I'll take care of the Death Knight. Yuri raised a hand, halting Gerald's advance. Oh wow, he said, his tone surprisingly calm. Took your time. Death Knight, a knight reborn from death, Yuri thought, his past life knowledge steadying him. Once a knight becomes a Death Knight, they're stronger than when they were alive. But it's okay. That one's not dangerous. How can you be so sure? He murmured aloud, testing his intuition. That guy guards the dungeon of our ancestor. Why would he be hostile to someone of his bloodline, to Yuri Brial? Don't you think? Gerald and Hernando exchanged wary glances, their swords still drawn. It's dangerous. Gerald warned, his voice trembling. Prince. Hernando shouted as the Death Knight stepped forward, its blade glinting with an eerie light. Wow, I can't believe the prince's head got split in half. Watch your mouth, Yuri growled, shooting him a glare. Wow, I can't believe the prince's hair got split in half, Gerald corrected, his voice faltering under Yuri's stare. That arrogant attitude is just like his, the Death Knight rumbled, its voice echoing like a distant storm. Yuri froze, the words striking a chord deep within him. That's a name no one from Brial could forget. Who's he? Gerald whispered, his curiosity overcoming his fear. Eric Brial. The Death Knight intoned, its voice heavy with reverence. Eric Brial. A peerless swordsman who conquered the continent with a single sword, and the founder of the Night Kingdom of Brial, its very first king. Yuri's breath caught, his eyes locked on the sword before him. Am I the first to come here? He asked, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Yes, the Death Knight replied. Unless you're a descendant of Brial, you can't draw that sword. So this really is the supreme treasured blade used by our ancestor. Yuri reached for the hilt, his fingers closing around it. I used it, he said, lifting the blade with a fluid motion. Why that face? He asked. Sorry for touching something that isn't mine, Yuri said, lowering the sword, his tone respectful but firm. Heir of Brial, the Death Knight declared, its voice resonant. State your reason for coming here. Yuri stepped forward, his gaze unflinching. I am Yuri Brial, heir of Eric Brial and the third prince of this era's Brial, he proclaimed. Pass his legacy to me. The Death Knight regarded him, its hollow eyes seeming to peer into his soul. The time has come, it said at last. I must fulfill my duty. I shall give you what you seek. Hernando leaned toward Gerald, his voice a disbelieving whisper. This makes no sense. Coming to the dungeon of Brial's founder and having a conversation with a Death Knight? This isn't the royal guard life I imagined. Gerald. Yuri called, his voice cutting through. What are you doing? Ha! Gerald blinked, startled out of his daze. Stop your nonsense, Yuri snapped. You're not coming? That can't be, Gerald muttered, shaking his head. I'm seeing all sorts of crazy things now. He hurried after Yuri, his voice rising. I'm coming. The Death Knight's gaze lingered on Yuri, its voice a low murmur. I hope you are worthy. The cavern shifted, the air growing heavy. Where's this? That's not human. Ugh. Yuri grunted, his grip tightening on the Founder's blade. This is the creature roared, its blade glowing with a malevolent light. Mana sword. Yuri shouted, recognizing the technique as he braced for the fight ahead. The sword's light seemed to unravel before him, revealing its essence. A way to utilize mana, it's showing me the fundamentals of it, Yuri realized, his heart racing. The creature tilted its head, its hollow eyes glinting as if issuing a challenge. Yuri muttered, his grip tightening on Eric Bryall's sword. You want me to copy it? While fighting. He let out a wry laugh. Haha, my ancestor was really a maniac, he said, shaking his head. Training someone who hasn't learned a mana method via real combat. This is only possible for someone who's living their second life. Like me. He adjusted his stance, memories of his mercenary days guiding him. Was it like this? Hey! He shouted, lunging forward, his blade tracing the mana patterns he glimpsed. I don't fully get it yet, but let's do this for real. I have to be stronger, he thought, his resolve burning. In the near future, the Empire shows its greed and invades Bryall. I'll do anything to destroy them. I won't make the same mistake. The weight of his past life fueled his strikes. Eric Bryall's sword skill. I'll make it mine. Meanwhile, in another chamber, Gerald stood frozen, his sword trembling as he faced a mirror image of himself, a doppelganger with his own face but eyes cold and mocking. What's your name? Gerald asked, his voice unsteady. Is it Gerald as well? Gerald, do not defy your fate, the doppelganger intoned, its voice a chilling echo. Didn't you join the guard because you wanted a comfortable life? Stay away from the third prince. You will become miserable if you defy your fate. Gerald's breath hitched, the words striking at his deepest fears. I would agree with him if it were me back then, he thought, his past self's cowardice surfacing. But he said, his voice gaining strength. The doppelganger tilted its head, its blade glinting. Do you not understand because you're fake? Gerald pressed, stepping forward. You can't take back what you've done. Thinking about your last move only distracts your mind. Wrong answer. The doppelganger hissed, lunging with a defensive strike, its sword a wall of calculated precision. What an easily predictable move, Gerald muttered, parrying with newfound resolve. A sword that's heavily focused on defense, boring, without taking any risk. He grimaced, confronting his own flaws. My past self is really as hell. The doppelganger's form shimmered, growing larger, its blade now massive and menacing. Ha, Gerald gasped, bracing himself. Of course, there's a second phase. The size of it is indeed overwhelming. The prince is probably in a battle as well, he thought. Please, overcome it, prince. He stood panting, Eric Bryall's sword heavy in his hand, its blade humming with the mana method he'd fought to comprehend. Huh, he gasped, catching his breath. Phew. It was a bit dangerous just now. He adjusted his grip, feeling the rhythm of the sword stabilize within him. And how I should swing the sword, I think it's finally stabilizing a bit, he thought, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I wonder how much time has passed. The question of how I should use this mana method, all thanks to crossing swords relentlessly, it's starting to disappear. The spectral figure before him shimmered, its form dissipating like mist. That must mean the time is over, Yuri murmured, lowering the sword. Thanks. Gerald stumbled forward, blinking as the dungeon's oppressive air lifted. He muttered, disoriented. Did I come back? Sir Gerald, are you okay? Yuri asked, his voice steady but concerned. Ah, yes. I'm fine, Gerald replied, rubbing his neck, his eyes still wide from the trial. You seem to have had a good dream. Yuri's gaze turned to the Death Knight, its hollow eyes fixed on him. What was that earlier? He asked, his tone probing. It's Eric's assignment, the Death Knight intoned, its voice echoing through the cavern. Something he left behind for the heir of Bryall that would come here one day. Yuri's mind raced, memories of his past life surfacing. In my past life, Sword Mountain was savagely destroyed by the Empire. As such, no one from House Bryall was able to reach it. Did the progenitor use this mana method as well? He asked, gripping the sword tightly. No, the Death Knight replied. Eric only obtained it during his travels to the Eastern lands in his later years. It's his final legacy, created from the culmination of all his understanding. You are its first successor. Yuri's eyes widened. Why was it passed down to me in this way instead of going to the royal family? He pressed. This dungeon doesn't open when the time isn't right, the Death Knight said. When this dungeon opens, it means the time to use that power has come. What time are you talking about? Yuri demanded, his voice edged with frustration. That is not for me to answer, the Death Knight replied, its tone final. Figure it out on your own. Yuri nodded, accepting the challenge. What is the name of this mana method, he asked. The Death Knight's gaze seemed to soften, its voice resonant. He called it the Heart-Soul Slash. The Heart-Soul Slash, Yuri repeated, the name settling into his soul like a vow. He felt the weight of the sword, its power now a part of him. Yuri Bryal, the Death Knight commanded. Kneel on one knee. Yuri obeyed, dropping to one knee before the spectral guardian. I shall deliver the predecessor's legacy to the heir of Bryal, the Death Knight declared, its voice solemn. Be not afraid of your enemies. Yes, Yuri replied, his voice firm. Do as you believe. Yes. Until the very end, fulfill your duty as a Bryal. Yes. Bear in mind. Bryals do not abandon honor. Even in death. Such is the oath of the Bryals, Yuri finished, rising with the sword in hand, its blade a beacon of his renewed purpose. Your Highness, are you tired? Aina's voice broke his reverie. You came in so late yesterday. Ha! Yuri sighed, rubbing his eyes. It's morning. But you look like you'd fall right back to sleep if you put a pillow to your head. Sorry? Yuri muttered, forcing a smile. I went to the Royal Library for a bit last night because I needed to find a record. The Royal Library was a labyrinth of ancient tomes and flickering candlelight, its shelves heavy with the weight of Bryal's history. Yuri pored over a dusty record, his eyes scanning faded script. According to the records found in the library regarding the royal lineage, there existed a description about the progenitor, Eric Bryal, having a brother, he thought, his fingers tracing the words. A figure who had vanished from the annals of history, unable to leave his name behind because he abandoned his honor. He must be that Death Knight, and the original master of that sword. Your Highness, you have to hurry up and dress, Aina urged, bustling about. His Majesty is looking for you. Yuri frowned, a flicker of unease stirring. Why? I don't know the reason, but after meeting with Sir Hernando, he asked for your presence at once. Aina replied, her voice brisk. Yuri's eyes narrowed. Hernando, that guy. He murmured, rising as he steeled himself for the confrontation. I will be reporting what happened today to His Majesty, he said. Do you have to? Yuri asked, his tone dry. Yes, because it feels like I have to, Hernando replied, a nervous laugh escaping. Haha, it seems he reported everything. In the throne room, Hernando stood before King Fiore Bryal, his expression sheepish. Fiore gaze settled on Yuri, heavy with authority. You've been looking for me, father, Yuri said, bowing slightly. Yes, Fiore replied, his voice measured. I heard from Hernando. Not only did you leave the palace of your own accord yesterday, but you even found our progenitor's dungeon in Sword Mountain. Yuri nodded, unflinching. That's how things came to be. Did you find that sword in the dungeon as well? Fiore asked, his eyes narrowing as he noted the blade at Yuri's side. Yes, Yuri confirmed, his hand resting on the hilt of Eric Bryal's sword. Fiore leaned forward, his expression unreadable. Recently, I've been hearing a lot that you've changed. From your maid, Bernard, Saint, and even Hernando. Speak. Tell me what changed you. Yuri hesitated, his mind racing. Fiore prompted, his tone insistent. Do you not want to? Fiore asked, catching the flicker of unease in Yuri's eyes. That's not it, Yuri said, his voice steady but guarded. Then why do you back off with that expression? Fiore pressed, his eyes narrowing further. It's because you're clenching your fist, father. Fiore blinked, glancing at his own hand, which had indeed tightened into a fist. Ah, is that so? He said, relaxing his stance with a faint smile. Then you may speak now. Yuri took a deep breath, his past life's guilt weighing on him. I had a dream, he said, his voice low. A dream? Fiore echoed, his brow furrowing. Yes, Yuri continued, his gaze distant. And in that dream I committed a dire sin. A dire sin, you say? Fiore's voice grew grave. Yuri Bryal, what is the sin you committed in your dream? The throne room of Bryal's palace was heavy with silence, the weight of King Fiore Bryal's question hanging in the air. My sin was being unable to save Bryal, he said, his voice low but resolute. In my dream, Bryal was part of a great war and many innocents were killed. I tried to save it, but I failed. The kingdom fell, so I ran with no honor. And died miserably. He paused, his gaze dropping to the floor. I woke up from the dream and the necklace mother gave me was gone. Fiore's expression softened, but his scrutiny remained. Yuri continued, his voice tinged with conviction. I was thinking that maybe the dream was a warning from mother. What destroyed the kingdom in your dream? Fiore asked, leaning forward, his tone probing. Yuri hesitated, his mind racing. It's too early to mention the Empire, he thought, wary of altering the future too drastically. Also, there's a chance that the invasion might not even happen since I'm changing the past. I'm not sure either, he said carefully. It was a dark army I didn't know about. Fiore nodded, his expression unreadable. I see. It could be a random nightmare or Lily's warning. But I'm relieved that you pulled yourself together. Did I? Yuri replied, a bitter edge to his voice. I'm just struggling to be pardoned from my sins. There's one thing we should clarify, Fiore said, rising from his throne. Bring your sword. The training room was a stark contrast to the opulent throne room. Its stone walls scarred from years of blade work, the air thick with the scent of sweat and steel. Fiore Bryal stood at its center, his presence commanding, his sword resting lightly in his hand. Fiore Bryal, Yuri thought, gripping Eric Bryal's sword tightly. A genius who held a sword from the moment he started walking. A man who holds every title of the first. He engraved his name on this continent with his wondrous skill. He was considered the strongest among them, simply the most powerful sword master on this continent that no one can overlook. This is my first time in Father's training room, Yuri said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Fiore's eyes narrowed, a faint smile playing on his lips. I didn't think any of my sons had a talent with a sword. I think I'm an exception, Yuri replied, his tone bold but measured. Talent, Fiore mused, circling him slowly. What is talent to a swordsman? Strength? Speed? Reflexes? Or outstanding intellect? If you possess all of these? Yuri met his gaze, unflinching. Not at all, he said, his voice firm. Fiore paused, his sword glinting in the torchlight. What's more important than the ones showing on the surface is something that can make you surpass your limit as a human. Something that's ahead of your sense of duty or crisis. Yuri's breath caught, the air around Fiore shifting, charged with an almost tangible aura. The aura around him changed, he thought, his heart pounding. Can you become the best knight? Fiore asked, his voice a low challenge. I don't know what to call this either, Yuri murmured, feeling the weight of Eric's sword in his hand. It's like receiving a call of a sword. Like fate? Fiore suggested, his eyes gleaming. Maybe. That could be it. Yuri's mind flashed to his past life, the path he had forsaken. In my past life, I wasn't supposed to follow the path of a sword, he thought, gripping the hilt tighter. How about now, he asked aloud. What do you think, son? Should you hold the sword? Fiore gaze bore into him. Can you hear the sword calling you? Ah! Father. Yuri stammered, feeling the mana within the sword pulse in time with his heartbeat. Feel anything. When your death approaches, are you still holding on to your sword? Fiore pressed, his voice relentless. I don't. Yuri began, but the world around him lurched violently. The training room dissolved, replaced by a hellscape of fire and smoke. No! Run! A voice screamed, panicked and distant. Prince! Get out of here! Aak! Save me! Another cried, as screams filled the air. Prince Yur! A desperate shout echoed, pulling Yuri's gaze to the chaos. What? He gasped, his heart seizing as flames roared around him, the familiar spires of Bryal's palace crumbling. Why is Bryal on fire? There's the third prince, a soldier bellowed, his voice thick with malice. The last prince of Bryal is here. Yuri's blood ran cold as he saw them. Soldiers clad in the black and gold of the Empire, their blades drawn. Imperial army? He thought, his hand tightening on his sword. Wait, is this? Am I back again? To the time Bryal fell? The world was a maelstrom of fire and steel, Bryal's once proud spires crumbling under a sky choked with ash. Yuri Bryal stood amidst the chaos, as an imperial soldier lunged, his blade aimed at Yuri's heart. Die, Prince of Bryal! KRJH! Yuri grunted, parrying the strike, his body screaming with exhaustion. Wrath! He roared, countering with a desperate slash. Lord Prince! We'll hold them off! A loyal knight shouted, his voice strained as he fought back the encroaching enemy. Run away in the meantime. Lord Prince, please run. Crew! Another knight fell, his cry echoing as Yuri staggered, the weight of his failure crushing him. Was it all a dream? He he thought, his vision blurring. Was Brial fated to powerlessly fall in the end? I can't stop it. Guilty. A voice whispered in his mind, but Yuri's resolve hardened. But, he growled, his voice rising against the din of battle. Crew, I've taken the oath that I shall never be afraid of the enemy. Do as you believe. Until the very end. Fulfill your duty as a Brial. Hra-F, he bellowed, charging into the fray. His sword a blur of defiance. KRGH. JRRG. Croc. Each strike was fueled by the oath he'd sworn in the Founder's dungeon. His body pushed beyond its limits. Fu-ha! Yuri panted, blood dripping from a gash on his arm as an Imperial commander loomed before him. Prince of Brial, you're dead now. So give up already? The commander sneered, raising his blade. Yuri's eyes burned with unyielding resolve. Brials, do not abandon honor, he declared, his voice steady. Even in death. Hra-F, until the very end. Fulfill your duty as a Brial. He lunged, his sword flashing. Until the very end. Yuri, a distant voice called, piercing the chaos. Yuri, do you hear my voice? Yuri, Father. Yuri gasped, the battlefield dissolving as the training room snapped back into focus. He staggered, his heart pounding, Fiore Brial's concerned face before him. Gah! Yuri clutched his chest, disoriented. The Legion, the Black Legion, he muttered, his eyes darting as if the enemy still surrounded him. Yuri, calm down, Fiore urged, gripping his shoulders. You've seen an illusion. Ah! Yuri exhaled, the tension draining from his body. So it was just an illusion. Fiore's gaze softened, though his voice remained firm. It appears that I was mistaken. Yuri nodded, his resolve reaffirmed. Yes, that's what I've decided on, he said, meeting his father's eyes. Fiore tilted his head, catching the shadow of grief in Yuri's expression. Why is he making that face all of a sudden? Yuri thought, forcing a wry smile. Someone might think I'm going to turn into a corpse if they saw this. You will hold onto the sword, Fiore declared, his voice unwavering, a command and a promise. Yuri let out a mock groan. Arg, don't worry, he said, his tone lightening. I'm a genius, you know. He grinned, the weight of the vision lingering but his spirit unbroken. Later, on the training grounds, Yuri stood battered but unbowed, his body aching from Fiore's relentless sparring. Bernard approached, his eyes appraising the prince's bruises. Lord Prince, he called, his voice tinged with respect. Whose masterwork is that today? Father, Yuri replied, wincing as he adjusted his stance. His Majesty put some strength in today. Bernard smirked, drawing his own sword. But I won't be reducing your training difficulty just for that. I know, Yuri said, raising Eric Brial's sword, its blade catching the sunlight. A thought struck him, and he paused. Now that I think about it, Bernard was someone who stayed in Brial because of father, he reflected. Bernard, he said, his tone serious. You stayed in Brial for a duel with father as the condition, right? Bernard nodded, his expression guarded. Yes, that's right. Then will you still stay here if I ask you to? Yuri hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Even if you can't have a duel with father? Nope, Bernard replied bluntly, his eyes narrowing. Yuri let out a frustrated sigh. Damn it. Heartless guy as usual, he muttered, but Bernard's lips quirked into a faint smile. It seems like you want me to stay, Lord Prince, Bernard said, his tone teasing but curious. Yuri met his gaze, his voice firm. I'll stay if you can show me something I'd be convinced by, Bernard continued, his eyes gleaming with challenge. Like, for example, the swordsmanship of the progenitor, Eric Brial. But that's going to be difficult, Yuri said, his voice steady but tinged with regret. You want me to teach you the progenitor's swordsmanship? Bernard's eyes gleamed with interest, his nickname Sword Fiend well earned. I've taken an interest in it, he replied. It's okay even if you haven't mastered it, Bernard added, waving a hand. That's a factor I've already considered. You're right, Yuri conceded, his mind racing. But what I'm saying is it won't be of any help to you. This swordsmanship is one with the mana method. Bernard raised an eyebrow, intrigued. The two are one, huh? That's the first time I've heard that, he said. Generally, the mana method is used to strengthen swordsmanship. Right? Yuri nodded. That's why I'm saying passing it on to you will be difficult. And it's also going to be half complete anyway. Bernard leaned back, considering. Well, all right, he said at last, a sly grin spreading. For real. It's okay even if it's half-complete swordsmanship, Yuri insisted, seizing the opportunity. In return, I shall remain in Brial. Bernard's grin widened. Even if it's only half, there will definitely be some parts that I can understand, Yuri added, his confidence unwavering. That's some crazy confidence? Well, okay. Then you're going to remain in Brial as promised, all right? Yes, sir. Then, would you demonstrate it? Bernard asked, his eyes glinting with anticipation. Yuri drew Eric Brial's sword, its blade humming faintly. All right, I'll show you. He declared. Yuri Brial's heart-soul slash. Bernard's expression shifted. A mix of amusement and surprise. Ah, there's one thing I haven't told you, he said, his tone teasing. I was actually planning to remain in Brial in the first place. His Majesty said, let's be together for another 10 years. Yuri's jaw clenched, his grip tightening on the hilt. Why would you only say that now? He exclaimed, his voice rising in mock outrage. Bernard laughed, stepping back as Yuri's blade swung playfully close. Are you not going to attack? He taunted. Then I'll strike first. Yuri's mind wandered to the broader implications. It's changing, he thought, into another future, a Brial that isn't destroyed due to my mistake. Even though no special measures were taken, the fact that Bernard decided to remain in Brial is proof of that. His heart lifted with cautious hope. Changing the future felt very vague and uncertain, but even just little by little, it's definitely changing. It's not done yet. I have this time to stop the Empire without fail. Ha! Aina's voice broke his reverie, her tone sharp as she approached. Without fail, yes, without fail. You must avoid causing trouble this time. Was there something else on the schedule? He asked, confused. You cause trouble every day, so you don't even know what I'm talking about, right? Aina huffed, crossing her arms. You have to attend a meeting tomorrow, that's why I said that. A meeting? Yuri echoed, his brow furrowing. Yes, Aina exclaimed. The elders' meeting. His Majesty said that this time you two will be participating. Did you not hear about it yet? Yuri's stomach sank. Ah, damn it, he muttered, dreading the prospect. You must go immediately tomorrow morning, Aina insisted. It was said that most of the Elder Council will be attending. There will definitely be some people who are scary and stubborn. But you must not start a fight or anything like that, she added, her voice firm. Yuri raised an eyebrow. That's what you're worried about. Don't worry, he said, his tone reassuring. I don't do that now. Really? That's a promise, Aina said, her eyes narrowing. I'm telling you, you need not worry. The Elder Council chamber was a cavernous hall of polished stone, its high ceiling adorned with banners of Brial's storied past. Yuri stood before the assembled elders, their stern faces a gallery of skepticism and tradition. Aina was right, he thought, his gaze settling on Duke Gened, a man whose sharp features and sharper tongue were infamous. Duke Gened. No. Objecting right from the beginning. It's not right for you to learn a mana method that has not been validated, Your Highness, Gened declared, his voice cutting through the chamber. And the members of the Elder Council. This is actually a place where the administration of the kingdom is discussed. But now, it's long since become a place where they take shots at the throne. Yuri's jaw tightened. Now I understand why my father didn't attend it in the past. You're much better off learning the Brial method instead of spending time learning something like that, Gened continued, his tone patronizing. Yuri's eyes flashed with defiance. What do you mean, a method that hasn't been validated? This is the progenitor's legacy, he retorted, his voice ringing out. Gened's lips curled into a condescending smile. How can you be sure that's the progenitor's legacy? He asked, his words dripping with doubt. Are you doubting the prince right now? Sir Saint interjected, his voice bristling with loyalty. What I'm saying is, it's safer to be sure, Gened countered smoothly. Haven't we gathered here because we are concerned about the prince's future? You even held an elders' council meeting just to discuss my mana method. I'm deeply moved, Duke Gened. Yuri's sarcasm was laced with bitterness. How shameless, being a traitor who bowed his head to the emperor once Brial fell, he thought, his past life memories fueling his disdain. He's good with his words, as always. Well, Sir Saint, Genid said, turning to the guard captain. What are your thoughts? Saint hesitated, his expression guarded. Well, I'm in no position to make a rash judgment on my own, he began. Each mana method has its own pros and cons, and every person has their unique traits. Look, Genid seized the opening, his voice triumphant. The guard captain of Brial himself is saying that he's unsure of the mana method. It couldn't be more anxiety-inducing. I think it's better to abandon such a mana method, another elder chimed in, nodding sagely. Yuri's heart sank as the tide turned against him. This is bad, he thought, his mind racing. If it hasn't been long since learning a mana method, it's possible to completely change the working of the core, but because of the experience of battling in the progenitor's illusion, the heart-soul slash has already taken root in my core. I can't even explain all this. What should I do? You sure know how to talk convincingly? His smile widening as murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. A new voice cut through the din, clear and authoritative. Excuse me, I wanted to say one thing, Free Lord Calcio Arancia declared, rising from his seat. What? Genid snapped, his composure faltering. How many of you here have actually faced an orc? Calcio asked, his gaze sweeping the room, challenging the elder's authority. Who are you? Genid demanded, his eyes narrowing. What's your title? I'm a free lord, Calcio replied, his voice calm but carrying an edge of defiance. My name is Calcio Arancia. A baron? How dare a mere baron attend the elder council? Genid sneered, his tone dripping with disdain. I didn't want to come either, Calcio said, shrugging. But what can I do? Count Satyr entrusted it to me. The name sent a ripple through the council. Count Satyr, an elder muttered, his voice tinged with surprise. He's definitely the Margrave guarding Brial's borders, Yuri thought, his mind racing. As befits that title, he is the lord guarding the borders, therefore the front lines, and is famous as a true soldier who spent his entire life on the field. He's well known for having absolutely no interest in the affairs of the nobility, so what could have prompted him to send a representative to the Elder Council? What came up for Count Satyr to have you attend the Elder Council? Yuri asked, his curiosity piqued. He's not the kind to explain things in detail, Calcio replied, his gaze sweeping the room. However, seeing the high-ranking nobles here just playing their political games and indulging in pointless debates, I think I understand why the Margrave sent me. What? Genid snapped, his face reddening. The type of mana method doesn't make much difference on the actual battlefield, Calcio continued, undeterred. Whether it's the Brial method or the Empire's art of the Lionheart, in the end, it all depends on the person who uses it. Your Highness, what do you think? Yuri's lips curled into a faint smile. I like this guy, he thought. As the Prince of Brial, I don't understand why it's up for debate whether I master the mana method of our progenitor, he declared, his voice ringing with authority. No matter what you all say, I will learn the progenitor's mana method. Now, the instinct of the sword-wielding prince has decided to follow the will of the progenitor and the mana method. So, why do people with no business, authority, or responsibility keep meddling around and raising their voices? Calcio nodded, his expression approving. Well, usually it's these desk-bound folk who've never even swung a sword that make the most noise like this. Free Lord, you're speaking recklessly, Genid interjected, his voice sharp. My apologies. Please forgive me if I'm rude, Calcio said, his tone unapologetic. I mentioned it earlier as well, I can't help it, since I only fight orcs on the borders every day. But could you tell me how many people here have fought orcs? Do you think those orcs would mind whatever kind of mana method their opponent uses? Yuri leaned forward, his voice firm. You're not wrong. But even so, His Highness is still young, so his judgment. Are you saying I should tear apart and fix my mana method if need be? Yuri cut in, his eyes blazing. Because I made the wrong decision? You're saying that while knowing full well it's impossible, right? Calcio's gaze locked onto Genid. It doesn't seem like His Highness will back down on this anyway. Or are you going to forcibly extract his core or something? What do you? Genid sputtered, his composure cracking. I don't think you will. So what use is arguing now? Calcio pressed, his voice relentless. His Highness agrees too, doesn't he? But everyone's just sitting around here, damaging His Highness's mental health. The royal palace must truly be a relaxed place. Huh. Relaxed, you say? Such rudeness! An elder exclaimed, his voice quivering with indignation. If you put it that way, hasn't the Margrave been quiet lately too? Another elder shot back. After receiving that budget, do hundreds have to die before it's considered not quiet? Calcio's expression darkened, his voice dropping to a grim whisper. You must have not seen or heard the reports of soldiers dying daily. On the very day I left the Margrave, for died. I even personally shrouded a friend who I'd had breakfast and chatted with until morning. Those orcs never rest, Mr. Nobleman. They spend their lives in battle and slaughter. Yuri's mind flashed to his past life, a memory stirring. Orcs. Come to think of it, there was a problem between Brial and the Klein Principality around this time, he thought. During that time, orcs crossed the border repeatedly, causing massive damage. Has there been a change in the orcs' movements? He asked, his voice sharp. Yes, they've been much more ominous than usual, Calcio confirmed, his tone grave. I see. How is Klein, then? Yuri pressed. Sorry. Calcio blinked, caught off guard. Wasn't the Klein Principality's army stationed there too? Yuri clarified, his past life knowledge guiding him. Calcio hesitated, his voice lowering. That's... Their border guards suddenly retreated. What about the border village over there? Yuri asked, his heart sinking. It was completely devastated, Calcio admitted. People died and were taken as slaves. It's a terrible situation. Yuri's eyes narrowed, suspicion coiling within him. The timing coincided perfectly. Was the Duke's third child behind this? Was it a civil war? Or, enough? Your Highness. Ahem, I suppose that's enough for today. Discuss issues bigger than my little mana method problem. Like our defenses against the Klein Principality and the orcs. Janet cleared his throat, eager to shift focus. The Duke? Stop minding the business of a boy going through puberty. Later, in a shadowed corner of the capital, Count Satyr received Calcio's report. So the third prince said that? Satyr asked, his voice low. Yes, Calcio confirmed. Rumors are spreading about how he's unlike his previous self. How did he seem to you? Satyr pressed. Wasn't the Klein Principality's army stationed there too? Calcio quoted, recalling Yuri's pointed question. His gaze wasn't so bad. We'll need to watch over him, Satyr mused. Calcio looked into the third prince. But there's not much to him on the surface. Should I run a background check on him? If necessary, Satyr replied. I shall do that then, Calcio said, nodding. I'll contact you again. As Calcio departed, he glanced at the bustling capital streets, their vibrancy a stark contrast to the border's bloodshed. Ho! It's peaceful even when soldiers at the border are dying every day, he thought, his gaze lingering on a figure in a hooded cloak. Huh? Is that the third prince? Of course not. Under the cover of dusk, Yuri and Hernando slipped through the capital's alleys, their cloaks concealing their identities. I sneaked out of the palace as you requested, Hernando whispered, his voice a mix of excitement and nerves. But this is heart-pounding. I used to sneak away from home like it was eating when I was a kid too. Yuri smirked. Are you saying you used to sneak out 3 times a day? Something like that, Hernando chuckled. I was a troubled teen. What's got you so excited? You can leave the palace anytime you want. If it's just me, I call it an outing, Hernando replied, grinning. But when I'm out with you, it feels like I'm rebelling. So what are you going to do now? Something naughty, he teased. That won't happen, Yuri said firmly. Even if I was going to, I wouldn't do it with you around. Pardon me? That's quite disappointing to hear, Hernando pouted, then grew serious. But, Your Highness, where are we going right now? Yuri's eyes glinted with purpose. The casino, he said. We're going to the most illegal casino in the capital. Sorry? Hernando blinked, startled. Wait, but you said we weren't doing anything bad. We're not, Yuri insisted, his voice unwavering. So just take me there. You won't say you don't know, right? Hernando sighed, his shoulders slumping. When I get wasted from drinking, I go there instead of home, but... Hernando, Yuri interrupted, his tone grave. Let me say this in advance. This is all for Brial's sake. Don't tell me. Hernando gasped, his eyes widening. Just how much has he prepared? As expected, you've thought it through. Very well, Your Highness, he exclaimed, his voice rising with resolve. Let us turn the casino upside down tonight. In Yuri Brial's past life, the kingdom of Brial was a crucible of legends. Among the whispers of the underworld, 3 figures stood out: the ruthless boss who ruled the shadows, the cunning loan shark Goryo, and the enigmatic assassin Asana, whose blade left streets drenched in fear. Goryo, the continent's most notorious loan shark, was destined to fall to Asana's hand, a fact Yuri now carried as a secret from his previous life. The scene opened in a dimly lit room heavy with the scent of cigar smoke and ambition. Yuri, the third prince of Bryal, sat across from Goryo, whose reputation as a financial predator preceded him. The loan shark's eyes gleamed with curiosity as he studied the young prince. "It seems like you already know who I am," Goryo said, his voice smooth but laced with skepticism. "Of course," Yuri replied, unflinching. "The Wizard of the King and the third prince themselves wanted us. Even with limited power, shouldn't someone step forward to take charge? I'm not here to simply gamble or have fun." Royal Mage Hernando, standing at Yuri's side, shifted uncomfortably. "Your Highness, you said you don't gamble. You never mentioned this to me." "Be quiet," Yuri snapped, his focus unbroken. Turning back to Goryo, he continued, "I heard you're not here to play casino. Then are you perhaps here to borrow some money?" "That's right," Yuri confirmed. "I'd use the borrowed money as an investment." Goryo's brow arched. So you're planning to have a personal slush fund. And since you're borrowing money from me instead of from a bank, could it be that the third prince has greater ambitions?" "Stop," Yuri cut in sharply. "It's not your place to interrogate me." Goryo raised his hands in mock surrender. "Please excuse me for that. I'd like to apologize." "It's fine," Yuri said, his tone softening slightly. "I'm the one who needs money anyway." Then Goryo pressed, "Can you move on to the point and tell me how the funds will be used?" Yuri leaned forward, his voice steady. "I'm going to use the borrowed money to purchase Mugranja, the spice region of Klein. Because sooner or later, supply will fall short of demand." Hernando's eyes widened. "Why, Your Highness? What are you, Goryo's expression turned skeptical. "Ho! Mugranja may be essential for making high-quality spices, but I'm skeptical if it's worth investing such a huge amount of money in it. I've also heard that a war broke out in Klein Principality and the orcs are roaming around." "It will happen soon," Yuri said confidently. "But I don't think the prices of spices would increase that much." Goryo studied him, his gaze sharpening. Is he simply aiming to secure a regional specialty in advance? That look? "Yuri Bryal, you're quite different from the rumors going around. Besides, it seems you're acting on more than just the information you've revealed." Yuri smirked. "Now, let's decide the amount. As an investor, not as a prince, how much money can you lend me?" The deal was struck and a memorandum was drawn. Hernando, still reeling, muttered, "Goryo really lent you some money. It's a huge amount too. But this is too much, Your Highness. You could have at least told me in advance. If I had told you the truth, you would have dragged me straight to father, no?" Yuri replied, already moving toward his next objective. "Shall we go to the trading place now? There's something I want them to do." Yuri's plan hinged on a secret only he knew. The alchemist who held Mugranja's recipe and aid to Duke Klein would soon die in the war. Without a substitute, Mugranja's value would skyrocket. It's a product that can have any price, at least until a substitute appears, Yuri thought. "I can't leave this to anyone." They arrived at a dilapidated trading firm, its sign barely hanging on. "What? A place that's falling apart," Hernando exclaimed. "Elaine Wood. Are you there?" A woman emerged, her clothes worn but her eyes sharp. "Who's there?" "I'm Elaine Wood." Yuri stepped forward. "Elaine Wood, I'm Yuri, the third prince of Bryal. There's something I want you to do." "Be Bryal? Prince?" Elaine stammered, disbelief etched on her face. Hernando grabbed Yuri's arm. "Your Highness, have you gone crazy? There's nothing a prince can't say. You're entrusting the purchase of Mugranja to a trading firm that's falling apart." Yuri's gaze remained fixed on Elaine. "It's true she's a merchant from a declining trading firm, but not long from now, Elaine will be a great merchant whom everyone will know. Unlike Goryo, who's full of credit, honor, and resorts to all kinds of dirty tricks when he gets cornered, Elaine, on the other hand, keeps her promise to her clients like she's protecting her life. In his past life, Elaine had been a legendary merchant. In this life, Yuri vowed to make her a myth. "I'll make her into a mythical merchant that surpasses all legends," he thought, a grin spreading across his face. "We're done with work today, right?" Hernando asked, exhaustion creeping into his voice. "No," Yuri replied. "There's one more thing left." "Where are you going?" Hernando called after him. Yuri's steps were purposeful. "The big merchants in the underworld. Everyone is ready to help me." There's only one thing left. In a shadowed alley, Yuri found her, the rare assassin, the survivor of the Assassination Academy, Asana. The woman destined to kill Goryo. "Hi," Yuri said, his voice calm but resolute. "I'm Yuri Bryal, the third prince of Bryal." "Your Highness? Why are you here?" Asana asks, her voice sharp. Yuri's expression softens. "You can let your guard down. I just stopped by during my patrol to offer a donation to those who need it." He hands her a pouch of gold. Asana hesitates, inspecting the money. Is it her? Yuri thinks, recalling his past life. Asana had borrowed a crippling sum from Goryo to treat this girl, spiraling into a life of bloodshed as the legendary assassin. "My goal is to change that. Use this money to treat her at the temple," Yuri says firmly. Asana's eyes narrow. "What do you want for it?" "What I want." Yuri pauses, then declares, "I am Yuri Bryal, the third prince of Bryal. Remember my name." As they part, Hernando, trailing behind, questions Yuri's actions. "Why are you giving such money to the homeless?" "It's an investment," Yuri replies cryptically. "I tied those I need to my fate." Hernando frowns. "Now, I need one more person," Yuri muses aloud. He turns to Hernando. "I have a question. What did you see in the progenitor's dungeon?" Hernando blinks, caught off guard. "A gamble. I played the game of my life at the Basrega's casino in the Empire." Yuri smirks. That actually does suit him. Then his tone shifts. "About what happened today, watch yourself." "Yes," Hernando nods, sensing the weight of Yuri's warning. The scene shifts to the royal palace where King Bryal summons Hernando. "I heard you went on patrol with Yuri yesterday. Can you tell me what happened?" Hernando, choosing his words carefully, recounts a half-truth. "The prince talked me out of the palace with him and we went to the casino. The biggest one." The king's brow furrows. "The casino. Did you and Yuri gamble there?" "Yes, we did," Hernando admits. "I thought he was good with cards, but that meant nothing there. He lost all the money I gave him." "And then," the king presses. Hernando hesitates. "Then he lent the money he borrowed from Goryo to a random merchant. He also gave a large amount of money to an orphan he had never met. He walked around and watched how civilians live. He was curious about their lifestyle." The king nods slowly. "Then you returned to the palace?" "Yes, then we returned," Hernando confirms. "That's all." The king dismisses him, but adds, "Hernando, will you attend the ball?" Hernando, surprised, replies, "Yes." "I thought you said you didn't care for it." The king smiles faintly. "A person's mind changes all the time. It's been a while since I danced." Later, Yuri trains with Prince Bernard, a skilled swordsman, in the palace courtyard. The clashing swords ring out as they spar. Bernard, wiping sweat from his brow, remarks, "The maids are looking at you. You're quite popular, Bernard. You should come to the ball. There are probably people waiting to see you. Besides that, about the swordsmanship, you were right. That sword didn't have a particular form." "Yes, it moves as it flows," Yuri agrees, referring to the fluid Bryal swordsmanship tied to mana manipulation. Bernard nods. "The mana method that is also a form of swordsmanship. I couldn't learn it myself. I'd need to watch you in real combat to study more. By the way, you've grown quickly. Your sense with mana is outstanding as well." Yuri privately feels a pang of guilt. In his past life, he had refined the Bryal mana method through experiments, amplifying his senses. "I tried to erase the traces of the Bryal method I learned from my past life. To experiment more," he reflects. Bernard, concerned, advises, "You can take it slowly." "I'm worried. It feels like you're in a rush." "Don't worry. I'll manage it," Yuri assures him. "Let's go for another round. With real swords this time." Bernard raises an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" "Of course," Yuri grins. "Let's bet. You'll come to the ball if I land a hit on you." Bernard scoffs. "No. I'm going to win anyway. And you don't keep your promises." Yuri's eyes gleam with determination. "Watch." The sparring intensifies, but Yuri fails to land a hit. "I couldn't even strike him once that day," he later admits to himself. Days later, the night of the grand ball arrives. The palace glows with opulence, filled with nobles and foreign dignitaries. Among the guests, two figures stand out. Second Imperial Prince George Ivarna Grandzayan and Imperial Princess Catherine Ivarna Grandzayan, representatives of the Empire. Catherine, radiant in her gown, confides in her brother, "You really can't take your eyes off the outside. It's been a while, so I'm excited. I also want to meet someone." Yuri Bryal, the third prince, prepares for the grand ball. His attendant, Aina, adjusts his attire, which glitters with excessive decorations. "How is it, Your Highness?" she asks. Yuri grimaces. "It's too much. All the decorations make it too flashy." Take them off. They look good in my eyes. Aina counters, finishing her work. All done, Your Highness. You liked these things before. Have your tastes changed already? Yuri, eager to shift focus, suggests, Aina, how about a dance? I want to practice dancing. I don't have anybody else to do it with. Aina hesitates, flustered. Do we have to? What's with that expression? Yuri teases. Are you planning to step on my foot to get me to fall? No, I'm not messing with you. Aina insists, blushing. Follow my lead slowly, Yuri instructs. As they dance, Aina's nervousness shows. Are you making fun of me, Your Highness? I'm a fairly good dancer. Yuri chuckles. Do you dance a lot? With who? I'm quite popular, actually, Aina retorts. But I've never danced with someone so short before. Just you wait, Yuri replies playfully. The height difference won't be a problem soon. Their banter is interrupted as Aina accidentally steps on his foot. Oops, I took the wrong step. It's a mistake, she says, only to do it again, earning a mock glare from Yuri. The ball begins, and the hall fills with nobles and dignitaries. Count Sitter, a knight distinct from his peers, is noted by Yuri, who recalls, it was just Baron Arantia in the last meeting. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation as the Empire's representatives arrive. Second Imperial Prince George Ivarna-Granzayan and Imperial Princess Catherine Ivarna-Granzayan, known here as Yekaterina. King Bryal greets them warmly. Thank you for coming here. I appreciate the warm welcome. George responds, I came here with my sister. Greetings, Your Majesty. Yuri, watching from a distance, clenches his fist. Yekaterina. I'm sorry I can't create a rapport with Yekaterina. I won't make the same mistake this time. Never again. His resolve is fueled by memories of his past life, where his failure to navigate relations with the Empire led to Bryal's downfall. Cedric, a respected lord, earns praise for his benevolence. As expected of Cedric, he doesn't treat anyone poorly. That is a quality of a benevolent lord, a noble remarks. Yuri, reflecting on his own shortcomings, thinks, compared to him, Aina interrupts his thoughts, offering a cookie. Do you want a cookie, Your Highness? Thank you, Aina, Yuri says, taking it. It's nothing. Isn't it tiring? No, Aina replies. This is nothing compared to taking care of someone. Yuri grins. I know. Whatever. Give me lots of cookies. Let me know if you want more. Take care, Aina says, leaving him to his thoughts. The tension escalates as Yuri spots George across the room. It's the second prince of the Empire, George Ivarna-Granzayan, he thinks. He commanded the troops on the field in place of the king. And he's the man who drove Bryal to ruins. Steeling himself, Yuri approaches. I am the third prince of Bryal, Yuri Bryal. George's eyes glint with recognition. Yes. You turned 13 this year, right? As expected of the son of Fiori. You have some talent. Yuri senses the veiled threat. He's been rather threatening for someone who just came to test me, he thinks. I know he's still young, but I can't believe he's already this strong. The exchange is interrupted by a commotion. Aina, carrying a tray, accidentally collides with a noble, spilling wine on a ceremonial emblem. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Aya! The symbol of the kingdom, a noble mutters. How disrespectful. George seizes the moment, his voice cold. This child has committed quite the mistake. According to the rules of the crown, the fitting punishment is death. Yuri's blood boils. This bastard, he did that to Aina on purpose, he realizes, noting George's calculated provocation. Are you here to interrupt my ball? The king demands. If you wish to see blood, do it in your land. George, unfazed, insists, as the law decrees, a beheading should suffice. King Bryal, striving to maintain diplomacy, acknowledges the strained respect between Bryal and the Empire. Your Majesty, the Empire and Bryal have respected each other until now. Yes, George retorts, but you don't seem like you want to respect us. Do you recall Gatentia? When you executed a knight of the Empire, our emperor respected your honor and did not ask you to take responsibility for such actions. This is just like that. I'm doing this to protect both nations' peace and honor. Yuri, observing, recalls, in the past, father killed a knight of the Empire himself. He realizes George's invocation of Gatentia puts Bryal's honor at stake. If he's bringing that up right now, that means our honor is on the line here. Stopping him right now would be to challenge the Empire. The king, bound by the Bryal oath to uphold honor, hesitates. Brial does not abandon honor no matter what. That is the oath of the Brials. Yuri steps forward, his voice cutting through the tension. Your Highness. She's my maid. So her wrongdoings are mine. Reflecting on his past life as a criminal sentenced to repeat his failures, he laughs bitterly. Yeah, I never had a choice to begin with. Addressing George, Yuri pleads, please take back your decision to execute her. Instead, consider a dual trial instead. The crowd gasps and George laughs. Ha ha. All right. Did you say your name is Yuri? Yes, Your Highness, Yuri replies. May I call you Yuri? George asks, his tone deceptively casual. Of course, Yuri says, maintaining composure. George turns to the king. Your Majesty, the third prince has brought up a reasonable suggestion, so I intend on accepting it. Is that all right with you? The king, reluctant but cornered, agrees. Yes. George smirks. I would have to fight, but I will use a proxy for the sake of dignity. I'll pick out the youngest person from the royal guard since you're so young. Yuri bows. Thank you. As George departs, Yuri helps Aina to her feet. Aina, get up now. Go rest. Why, Your Highness, Aina stammers, tears in her eyes. But how can I? Don't worry about me, Yuri reassures her, his gaze drifting to Catherine, Yekaterina. Useless thoughts, he mutters, pushing aside memories of their past connection. Outside, Yuri's brother confronts him. What were you thinking? I couldn't just let him kill Aina, Yuri replies, resolute. His brother sighs, ruffling Yuri's hair. You're so... It's been a while since I've experienced this. Do you want some help? Yuri shakes his head. No, I started it, so I'm gonna put an end to it. His brother, reflecting on Yuri's potential, thinks, if the kingdom hadn't fallen, I'm sure he would have ruled over Brial. I'll be able to see what kind of kingdom Brial becomes under his reign in this life. Yuri, gripping his sword, vows, I'm going to fight so that I can see it. No matter whom I may have to fight. The duel preparations stir excitement among the onlookers. Captain Sand, a seasoned knight, assesses the situation. The third prince having a duel. What do you think, Captain Sand? The opponent's energy is very stable, Sand observes. He's very adept with the sword despite not being a knight yet. The Empire's guard is definitely very skilled. I wonder if His Highness will be all right. Another knight notices Sand's smile. Why are you smiling? Look, Sand says, gesturing toward Yuri, whose calm demeanor radiates confidence. I don't think you need to worry. On Hernando, the royal mage whose unparalleled mastery earned him the title of Grand Wizard, a rank reserved for those who achieve an exclusive arcane path. Among these, Hernando's fate observation allows him to glimpse the world's destiny, a power granted only to those chosen by the world itself. In a flashback, Hernando sits across from Yuri at a gambling table, frustrated. What's up with you, Hernando? Who is bragging and talking big? How are you unable to win even one game? You really suck at this. Hernando, inwardly shaken, thinks, this is the first time I lost money in a serious game since acquiring the exclusive arcane path. I could read my opponent's cards and even their luck with a quick glance, but I couldn't see anything reflected on this kid. His thoughts drift to a vision from the Sword Mountain's illusion. Yuri, bloodied but unyielding, swinging his sword until collapsing in despair. It must be from that point in time, Hernando muses, suspicion growing. The anecdote I considered a misunderstanding transformed into suspicion. During Yuri's last foreign excursion, Hernando used fate observation, a rare and costly miracle, and confirmed a startling truth: Prince Yuri does not have a destiny. Back in the present, Captain Sand, observing Yuri's calm demeanor before the duel, laughs. Look, you won't have to worry. His opponent, a skilled swordsman, taunts, how much longer are you going to swing that sword in the air? I'm okay with starting right away, Yuri replies confidently. The officiato announces, then we will now begin the combat trial. Begin. In the stands, King Brial questions Hernando. What are your predictions? I'm not sure, Hernando admits. The king presses, Hernando, you said you came to Brial because you followed the fortune, right? Yes, sir, Hernando confirms. The first time I came to Brial, it was because of fortune. Literally, the strongest person on the continent who could influence the destiny of the world was right here. However, the sword couldn't be drawn. So I thought there was no reason to stay here any longer, but I actually thought it was time for me to leave. The king smiles. It's a relief that you didn't say you'll be leaving now. I'm deeply honored that you would praise this lowly mage to such a degree, Hernando replies, though his thoughts linger on Yuri. But it looks like that time hasn't come yet. On the arena floor, the duel intensifies. The Imperial Guard moves with precision, but Yuri suddenly accelerates. He suddenly became fast, the guard thinks, caught off guard. Yuri twists his sword in a critical moment, disarming his opponent in a flash of skill. Oh! My, the crowd gasps. He twisted the sword in that situation. The guard collapses, defeated. The crowd erupts in cheers. Woo! Hernando, watching, reflects on the moment. Fate brought me here, yet I met someone who's defying his fate. Life to death, death to life. The third prince's sword changed that man and the maid's fate. Yeah, every step he takes goes against fate. The one who exists outside the world's destiny. Yuri Bryal, transcendent of fate. That was amazing, Your Highness. I'm excited to see how you will shape the destiny of this world. 5 years to a bustling street in Bryal. A flustered guard, caught in the wrong patrol zone, panics. If I get caught like this, he mutters, only to freeze as a figure with black hair, the mark of Bryal royalty, approaches. Hey, you there? Are you new? The figure demands. The guard, trembling, recalls a mental guidebook. 1. If he always has a stern expression, he's the king. 2. If he always smiles gently, he's the crown prince. 3. If he has a shady gaze and walks with a swagger, he stammers, I had something to do. What, do you guys have a royal guidebook or something? Avoid this guy at all costs. I'm gonna teach you a lesson today. Another voice interrupts. Bro, what are you doing? A confident figure with a sword at his side steps in, none other than Yuri himself, now 18, exuding authority. Picking on maids again? He asks, addressing the guard's mistake. The guard, relieved, babbles, new. Thank you, as Yuri tosses him a packed lunch from the maid. That maid packed something tasty for me, Yuri says, his casual demeanor belying his skill. Reflecting privately, he notes, so Sujeong, bare hand realm. Even while holding a sword, using mana to reduce the pressure on the hands. Well, at least I've reached that level. Yuri muses on the past 5 years since his regression, pierced by Lauren's sword in his previous life. Looks like peaceful days are coming to an end. The scene shifts to a chaotic noble meeting where arguments erupt over the Empire's request to form an alliance army to subjugate orcs in the east. Yuri, entering unannounced after knocking a bit hard, startles the attendees. Father, I will attend the meeting as well, he declares, taking a seat. The nobles bicker, reluctant to spare troops. In our territory, we don't have spare troops to send to the alliance army, one insists. Another retorts, are you saying you'll ignore the Empire's request? Can't other territories send more to cover? Yuri, observing, recalls his past life. Right, it happened around this time too. The Empire's request to join the alliance army. The Empire asked for troops from various nations to form a massive orc subjugation force in the east. But the alliance failed and enraged orcs retaliated violently, pressuring the borders of all participating nations. All except for the Empire. That's when I realized this was the Empire's scheme all along. We lost many great knights to that, including Lien. Determined to prevent history's repetition, Yuri interrupts the squabbling. Enough. I will go. I will join the alliance army myself. So, you all should show some sincerity too. In the name of Bryal, don't bring shame to yourselves. Fulfill your duty as nobles. The room falls silent, stunned by Yuri's resolve. Are you really going to the alliance army? Yuri's brother, concerned, questions him later. So that's what you're thinking. But why you? There's no need for royalty to go. I've always said it, haven't I? Yuri replies. It's the royal family's duty. His brother, moved, concedes, all right, Yuri. Today, I truly understand your resolve. Come back safely. I'll protect the palace while you're away. Yuri grins. You're not worried about me. As long as you don't do anything reckless, I'm sure you'll return safely. Orcs are tricky creatures. They're stronger than expected and cunning too. Especially the ones carrying banners on their backs. Orcbull. Among orcs, they're known to be especially vicious and powerful. It's fine, Yuri assures him. I've got a plan. Your Highness. A guest has arrived. They brought what you ordered. Guillermo, vice president of the Elaine Trading Company, greets him. I greet the prince. Yuri, noting the absence of Elaine, referred to as Elaine, asks, she's still running around on her own? Tell her to hold back a little. Guillermo chuckles. She insists she's made for field work. He then presents the item Yuri requested, the 4-wheel blade, a relic imbued with ancient magic. Well done, Guillermo, Yuri says, inspecting the dagger. At last, it's finally in my hands. Is that really such a valuable item, Your Highness? To me, it just looks like an ornamental dagger. It's extremely valuable, Yuri counters. The blade suddenly moves on its own, startling the guard. Eek. The blade just moved on its own. It's fine. It won't kill you, Yuri assures, revealing he's controlling it with mana. Did you think I just played around every day? Guillermo, preparing to leave, is told, "Send my regards to Elaine. Next time, give me a report on how the Imperial branch is progressing." As Guillermo exits, Yuri calls out, "You can come out now." Asana emerges from the shadows, reporting, "And Goryo?" Yuri asks. "I gave him the warning. I left the letter by his pillow while he slept, just as you said." Asana confirms. Yuri nods. "Good. He's always looking for a chance to get Elaine's money." Turning to Asana's concern, he confirms, "I am truly joining the Allied forces." "You talk like it doesn't concern you," Yuri teases. "You're coming too." Asana, unfazed, replies, "Anywhere's better than where I came from." "Then stay in touch," Yuri says, dismissing her. A few days later, on deployment day, Yuri prepares to lead Bryal's troops to join the Alliance army. His family bids him farewell. His brother urges, "Yuri, come back safe. Don't worry, I'm invincible." "I'll make the name of Bryal shine again," Yuri replies confidently. "Take breaks from studying, okay? Look after your eyes." His brother laughs. "Haha, got it. Take care, little brother." Yuri nods. I'll be back." King Bryal, observing, asks, "Are you nervous?" "Not at all," Yuri asserts. "Then turn around," the king commands. Yuri faces a sea of soldiers. "All these soldiers standing before you now, their lives rest on your shoulders, Yuri. Not everyone will return alive." Yuri, resolute, thinks, "But at the very least, I will not allow them to die meaningless deaths. I will not let that past repeat itself." The king presses, "Are you ready to bear that burden?" "Yes, father." "Of course," Yuri replies. Suddenly, a wave of killing intent emanates from the king, paralyzing Yuri. "My body, it's not moving," he realizes. "What's walking toward me now is death. If you try to run from it, you'll die." Yuri endures, and the pressure lifts. The king, satisfied, says, "You endured it well. Come back alive." "Yes, sir," Yuri responds, gripping the insignia. Stepping forward, Yuri addresses the troops. "I am the third prince of Bryal." With a rallying cry, Yuri orders all troops, "Advance." The soldiers roar, "Wah! Believe in me." Yuri Bryal. It's been 5 years, hasn't it? Yuri Bryal and his troops marching toward the Orc subjugation campaign. Sir Raymond, a Bryal knight, updates Yuri on their progress. "We've reached the entrance of Seder. If we go just a little further, we'll be at the border town of Seder. After that, we plan to pass through Gid and head toward the assembly point at Balshad." Yuri nods. "Very well. Our current speed is good enough, right?" "Of course, Your Highness," Raymond confirms. Yuri's thoughts turn to a bitter memory. "This all happened because of you. Roland Flandre. The bastard who ended my life in my previous life, as if summoned by fate." Roland Flandre, eldest son of Margrave Flandre, approaches. "It's an honor to meet you. I'm Roland Flandre." Yuri, masking his resentment, responds curtly, "Yeah, sure." Roland, oblivious, beams. "There has been something I wish to tell Your Highness even before we met. I admire you." He recounts hearing about Yuri's duel 5 years ago, when Yuri defended his maid Aina. "When you raised your sword for your servant, it was a perfect example of a true knight in itself." Yuri, softening slightly, replies, "Right, I also occasionally heard about you from your father, Sir Lien. Let's get along well." Roland, overjoyed, stands at attention. "No. It's an honor for me to serve you." As they prepare to depart, Raymond warns, "Just so you're aware, Count Seder isn't exactly known for being warm or friendly. So even if you don't get a grand welcome from him, don't take it the hard way." To Yuri's surprise, they're greeted with fanfare. "Welcome, His Highness the Third Prince," trumpets blare. Yuri smirks, "He's giving me a big welcome. A grand one." Margrave Haim Theodore, ruler of Seder, bows. "Thank you for the grand welcome, Sir Haim," Yuri says. "We're merely showing respect for someone who is jumping into the front lines at such a young age," Haim replies. "Have you ever fought against orcs?" Yuri catches himself. "Haven't, but I've read about them." Haim nods approvingly. "I see. That's wonderful. Most of the soldiers here don't have experience with fighting orcs, so I should at least learn. In that case, Your Highness, would you mind if I gave you a present?" Curious, Yuri follows Haim to a secured area. "It's inside here, Your Highness," Haim says, revealing a caged orc. "For now, let's just call it a prisoner." Yuri, unfazed, studies the creature. "To survive, I had to learn about these guys. From their little habits to their instinctive behaviors. everything that can be used in battle. Haim confirms, Sir Haim, is this the present you were talking about? With the war against these guys looming ahead, there couldn't be a more valuable gift than this. Thanks. Yuri asks, what's your name? I'm Simon Peshu, the soldier replies. Tell me honestly what's on your mind right now, Yuri demands. Simon hesitates. I thought there was no need to go this far. I think it's too much for the war prisoners. Yuri nods to Haim. Sir Haim, open one of the doors. Haim complies and Yuri turns to Simon. You said you were Simon, right? It's a real battle. Fight the orc. The orc, enraged, roars, Jarrar, gra, grhhh, and charges. Simon, unprepared, falters. As I thought, this is ridiculous. To fight prisoners who have lost their will to fight. He protests, but the orc attacks. Simon! Yuri shouts as the orc lands a blow. Urgh! Haim, calm, reassures the troops. Rest assured. We've severed most of its tendons already. Yuri steps forward, addressing Simon. Your Highness, this is an orc.